Hi, I'm Hal Roberts. This is Bridge City News. Here's some of the top stories we've been following. Alberta MLAs will now have to work remotely due to rising COVID-19 cases in our province. A Lethbridge MLA discusses what that may look like for him. More Albertans are now eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. We will explain who. And we chat with a pastor who talks about why communication with our kids is so important for a healthy relationship, especially during the pandemic.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Hal Roberts.
Thanks so much for joining us. The Alberta government announced more than 2,000 new cases of COVID-19 today. Premier Jason Kenney says the province is developing a package of new restrictions that will be announced on Tuesday. Kenney says the new restrictions will be coming because some Albertans are not getting the message of properly following the public health rules.
It is as astounding as it is aggravating that 14 months into this, more than 2,000 deaths in Alberta alone, that we still have many people in the province who don't even believe that COVID is real, who think that some kind of big government conspiracy or hoax. The reason we are at this critical stage of the pandemic in Alberta, with record high daily case counts and intensive care numbers, is precisely because, for whatever reason, too many Albertans are ignoring the rules we currently have in place. And let me emphasize that Alberta has essentially the same rules as our neighboring provinces, British Columbia and Saskatchewan. Their case counts are going down while ours are going up. This is incredibly frustrating for all of us. And that is why I am imploring all Albertans to take this seriously. I said on last Thursday, that if Albertans are not willing to do what's right, even though it's hard, then we will be forced to take further steps.
Alberta currently has 23,608 active cases of COVID-19. There are 658 people in hospital with the virus, including 154 in intensive care. There are also 4 new deaths attributed to the virus. Now, fortunately, more than 171,000 Albertans have also recovered from the novel coronavirus. MLAs in our province will not be returning to the legislature for 2 weeks due to the record-breaking COVID-19 caseloads. Government House Leader Jason Nixon says the government has determined that having members return to Edmonton after constituency week is no longer prudent. Kenney's cabinet will meet virtually, and legislature committees will also continue with members participating remotely. Lethbridge East MLA Nathan Neudorf joins me now via Zoom. Now, Nathan, you say with a strong third wave hitting our province, you and other MLAs had no choice but to work remotely like many other Albertans?
We want to make sure that it's a clear signal for everyone that this wave is serious. And we understand a lot of Albertans have had to make a very huge adjustment to their lives and lifestyles. And so have we, to help us focus strictly on COVID right now and not be debating other pieces of legislation, though necessary. We can move that off to put all of our efforts and all of our focus exactly on COVID and a response right now to help get these numbers down and make sure we're managing our healthcare system as effectively and carefully as possible.
That was Lethbridge East MLA Nathan Neudorf. A Stand in Freedom Open Your Church rally took place at the legislature in Edmonton over the weekend. The Sunday event drew around 250 people. A few pastors were in attendance, including those with Grace Life Church and a pastor from Saskatoon. Police were also in attendance. The rally featured some singing, preaching, and a discussion as to the struggles Albertans have been going through during the pandemic lockdowns. Many people are frustrated with the current government restrictions and lockdowns. Some are taking it upon themselves to return to a normal while breaking government health regulations. A number of Albertans flocked to a maskless No More Lockdowns rodeo, which took place in Bowden near Red Deer over the weekend. Premier Jason Kenney, in a series of tweets, scolded the rodeo goers. Many who attended said they went to the rodeo to show their support for businesses struggling under the current public health restrictions. Some who attended say they didn't believe the risk of transmission was high since the event took place outdoors. For this week's poll question, we are asking, are you planning on leaving your province for your summer vacation? Make sure you log onto our website, bridgecitynews.ca, and let us know your thoughts. We'll tabulate the results and have them for you on Friday's newscast. Alberta's Health Minister, Tyler Shandro, says news that Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccines being delayed is deeply disappointing. The province had promised to direct the doses to COVID hotspots in Banff and the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo, which includes Fort McMurray. Health Canada, however, put the delivery of the country's first 300,000 doses on hold due to concerns about the Maryland facility where part of the vaccines were produced. Chandra said on social media that health officials are looking into doses from other sources. Alberta Health says First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people born in 1986 or earlier, and anyone with health conditions born in 2009 or before, can now receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Those eligible youth will need to come with a parent or guardian, and no doctor's note will be required. AHS says the Lethbridge Vaccination Clinic at Exhibition Park South Pavilion is open on May 4th for walk-ins from 9 till 3:30 p.m., and the one at the Pincher Creek Community Centre on Canyon Drive will be open from 9 till 3:30 p.m. on May the 5th. Again, no appointment is necessary. Unexpected situations arise each and every day, and having adequate supplies on hand is one thing you can do to help manage them. This is Emergency Preparedness Week, which informs us on how to be ready for anything that may come our way. Luke Palmer, who is the Emergency Preparedness Manager for the City of Lethbridge, says this year's event has a unique theme for 2021.
This year's theme is being prepared for anything, which we feel is very fitting, given that we've been in a pandemic for the last year and a little bit here. Much of the mindset of the community is likely on the pandemic, but we really want to make sure that people are, especially as we going into summer months, thinking about the other hazards that are present in our city. The easy ones to mention are wildfire and flooding, of course, but we want to make sure that everyone is taking that into account when they do prepare themselves or their households.
A survey to share feedback about health, safety, social relationships, and emergency preparedness is available on the City of Lethbridge website. The baseball community in Western Canada has lost one of the best. Mitch Ball, a Southern Alberta umpire for the WCBL, has recently passed away from COVID-19. Ball spent more than 2 decades with the Western Canadian Baseball League and the City of Lethbridge. As Ainsley O'Reilly explains now, he was adored by many and will be remembered for his infectious personality.
He was that type of person who would do anything for you. It didn't matter who you were. He always entered a room with a smile on his face, and you were hard pressed not to be smiling after the interaction with him was over.
There's not too many umpires that you're excited to see, but Mitch was a guy that every time he's at the diamond, he always brings a great attitude. He's always happy to see everyone.
On Saturday, COVID-19 took the life of Mitch Ball, a Southern Alberta father and husband, known for being one of the most experienced baseball umpires in the country.
The outpouring of emotion over this tragic death has been, country and beyond countrywide, where he's established relationships with umpiring crews and tournament organizers from all over Canada and beyond.
A baseball career spanning more than 25 years, the Western Canadian Baseball League says his spirit was bigger than baseball and hopes his demeanor lives on in the sport.
Recognition of the importance of the demeanor part of the game of baseball, and bring that enjoyment of the game to the field each and every time you come.
It was easy to coach when he was there. He just his command of the game and his relationships that he built with all the coaches, all the respect that the coaches had for him was immense.
A GoFundMe has been created for the Ball family, and as of Monday has generated over $66,000. For Bridge City News, I'm Ainsley O'Reilly.
The number of bikes that are being stolen in Lethbridge continues to rise. Lethbridge Police Service has partnered up with a Bike Index program to try and change all of that. As Micah Quinn explains now, the goal of the program is to be able to locate bikes that have been stolen and to get them back to the owners as quickly as possible.
Over 1,000 bikes have been registered in Lethbridge since the Bike Index program was implemented last year.
It's simple. It's a sticker, hard to get off. You put this on your bike. They're all serialized with a QR code and everything on it. You put it on your bike, you register it through the Bike Index app or on your phone or your computer. And then what happens is if the bike gets stolen, we can actually get that bike back to you a lot quicker. There's been over $14 million in value in bikes through bikeindex.org that have been recovered back to the people getting their bikes back.
545 bikes were reported stolen to the LPS last year, and 760 bikes were found and recovered by the police in the same year.
Stickers on your bike, let's say it gets stolen at 10 o'clock at night. You went for a bike ride, maybe it's in your yard, in your shed even, and it does get stolen. An officer at 2 o'clock in the morning happens to deal with somebody for an unrelated offense, runs that QR code or runs the serial number through the bike. On a police system only, it'll come up with your contact information. So I'm actually able to call you 2 o'clock in the morning. I can say it's Sean Davis, the city police. So I'm actually able to recover these bikes even before they're reported stolen many times.
The LPS is reminding bike owners to make sure that they are doing everything they can to try to keep their bikes safe.
If they want a bike, they're going to get them. Don't get me wrong. But the most we can do is have a good bike lock. Keep it in an area, keep it well lit, and just keeping an eye on it if you can.
You can register your bike online for the program at bikeindex.org. For Bridge City News, I'm Micah Quinn.
High schools in Lethbridge are set to distribute scholarships for students during Education Week this week. That includes Chinook High School, LCI, Lethbridge School District 51, Winston Churchill High School, and Victoria Park High School. Now, the scholarships come from the Medicine Shop Pharmacy in Lethbridge. $5,000 will be awarded to 2 students per school. This equals $625 per student. This money will go towards helping students who will be attending university in the fall.
We wanted to help those students who otherwise cannot afford to go to the college or go to the university. So we set a criteria of for the students with the family income of less than $80,000, they would be the one be able to enroll into this scholarship program. 2 scholarships per school, so based on their top grades and also based on their leadership skill. So 1 scholarship will go to each criteria.
Students can apply directly to the schools for the scholarships. The Ministry of Advanced Education recently released its 2030 strategy for all 11 colleges in the province. The strategy is based on 6 goals, including student access along with diversity and inclusion. Lethbridge College President and CEO Dr. Paula Burns spoke about specific goals her school is looking to build on.
For us, high priorities are enrollment of both domestic, Indigenous, and international students. Another high priority is our applied research that is solution-based research for small and medium-sized enterprise. And also our health and wellness strategy for our students and our employees, making sure that we have the healthiest campus environment for our employees and for our students. Those are sort of 3 that come off the top of my mind as things that we're focusing on.
55,000 students are involved in the 2030 strategy, including Lethbridge and Medicine Hat colleges. There's something that humans and Ninja Turtles have in common. It's our love for pizza. And this week is a great time to find a unique piece of pie, as it is La Pizza Week across Canada. BCN's resident foodie Naveen Day has the details.
It's a national pizza party. La Pizza Week is a Canada-wide initiative to support local restaurants struggling through the pandemic. By showcasing original recipes, the organizers hope you'll have an urge to get some slices. And at Rava's India Pizza and Cuisine, they offer a pizza version of a popular Indian dish, butter chicken.
They love it. We got 5-star reviews. Go on Google and you can check it out. They love the pizzas. Butter chicken pizza is actually, butter is cooked in butter sauce is made from our own ingredients, and then we turn around, cook the chicken in that separately, and then along with that we make the pizza, and we add the butter chicken onto a regular pizza. It makes the taste greater.
And over in the west side, the Duke Pub and Grill shows us their signature pizza, the Windsor. Pepperoni, bacon, bell peppers, black olives, onions, and tomatoes, all topped on their house-made sauce.
The Windsor, they just like the variety of vegetables on it. The appearance, like I said, is as we say in the kitchen, you eat with your eyes.
There are 7 Lethbridge restaurants participating in the first ever La Pizza Week, which runs until May 7th. For Bridge City News, I'm Naveen Day.
As for most popular pizzas in Canada right now, the top 3 include the Smokehouse Pizza, the Meat Lovers, and the Pac Mac, mac and cheese with pulled pork on the pizza. Some people hoping to get COVID-19 vaccines at drive-through clinics in Saskatchewan faced long waits over the weekend. Regina's drive-through reopened yesterday for the first time since April 16th, and at the beginning of the day, the wait was over 6 hours. In Saskatoon, the peak time on Saturday was up to 7 hours, and the lineup stretched several kilometers. Age eligibility dropped to 40 years and older on Friday. Vaccines are also available to anyone 30 and older in northern Saskatchewan. Both Manitoba and Ontario are expanding eligibility for a COVID-19 vaccine as more doses flow into the country. Manitoba will now administer shots to all Indigenous people 18 and older. Residents of Ontario hotspot neighborhoods 18 and older rushed to book a vaccine earlier today as the province opened up appointments, but some were frustrated that everything booked up. Quebecers age 45 and up are now eligible to book an appointment for a COVID-19 vaccine as public health orders were eased in Montreal and a few other cities. Disneyland swung open its doors to cheering visitors on Friday, marking a dramatic turnaround in a state so overwhelmed with coronavirus cases just 4 months ago that patients were being treated in outdoor tents.
We're just excited to see the cast members back at work, excited to see things up and running again. We missed it. We missed it a lot.
I love that you guys keep your 6 feet distance. Thank you so much for that, friends. And welcome back to Disneyland.
Since I'm an annual pass holder, I was coming 2 or 3 times a week, maybe up 5 times a week. So not being able to come to the park was really rough. It was hard. But I mean, because this is a happy place. It's very magical, and being at Disneyland, it's like you forget about all your problems and you just live the moment.
Looks like it was kind of a nice day there in Southern California. And we had a nice day here as well. Well, we had kind of a mixed bag today. Sunshine, clouds, even light showers in some parts of southwestern Alberta, and more moisture may be in the forecast soon. A full look at the weather forecast is coming up. It was another beautiful spring-like day here in the Windy City. Some areas even saw a little bit of rain. Jeanette Roche is back with a complete look at the weather forecast. Jeanette, we may even see more of that shower activity, and I know a number of farmers here in southwestern Alberta welcome the moisture.
Yeah, we're looking at a 30% chance of showers overnight this evening, Hal. And then into tomorrow, Tuesday, it's going to start out sunny, increasing clouds though. By the afternoon, we're looking at a 60% chance of showers with the risk of a thunderstorm. So yes, I think the farmers might be happy with that. 13 is our high tomorrow on Tuesday. Into Wednesday, we're looking at a mix of sun and cloud and a lovely high of 17 degrees, going up to 21 on Thursday with partly cloudy skies. Now, we're looking at chance of rain on a Friday. Overnight on Friday night, we're looking at rain or snow. 10 degrees the high on Friday, 7 only the high on Saturday. Those showers should remain. Saturday night, we're looking at a chance of showers or flurries. So something about those evenings where that precipitation turns a little bit chillier. 11 degrees the high on Sunday with a mix of sun and clouds. So we are again doing that roller coaster into that first week of May that we're in. For the most part, seasonal averages remaining higher than this 16 degrees, except for later in the week when we get those 7 degrees towards the weekend there. Average low for this time of year, 2 degrees. 28 was our high in 1998, and we had our lowest day on record in 1956, which was -8. 6:05 is when the sun rose this morning and sunset this evening, right at 8:52 p.m. So let's take a look at the rest of the country. Over on the west coast, we are looking at not too bad here, 16 degrees, Victoria, 15 in Vancouver. Both of those cities a little bit cooler by the water. Edmonton, 60% chance of showers tomorrow, 10 degrees, 12 degrees in Calgary. Calgary, much the same as Lethbridge with a 60% chance of showers by the afternoon and a risk of an afternoon thunderstorm as well tomorrow. Over on the rest of the prairies, though, looking pretty nice. Nice sunny days in Saskatoon, Regina, and Winnipeg. 12 the high in Saskatoon and Regina, 8 degrees the high in Winnipeg. Not too much wind either, only about 15 winds for our Saskatchewan friends and about a 20 wind over in Winnipeg. In Toronto, looking at a risk of thunderstorm showers as well, 15 the high. Ottawa also showers tomorrow, 15 degrees the high there. 14 in Montreal and a chance of showers as well. So pretty rainy over in the central part of the Canada. Not so much on the east coast, so getting a little bit better here. 16 degrees the high in Fredericton, mix of sun and cloud. 14 the high in Halifax. Charlottetown, 12 degrees with lots of sunshine. Sunny in St. John's, but 60 winds with a high of 9 degrees. So there you have it. That is your forecast.
Today's weather is brought to you by Jeff Reimer of Royal LePage South Country Real Estates, 403-380-1779.
Cineplex will be holding a conference call on Thursday to discuss first quarter results. The movie theater chain reached a deal with its lenders earlier this year to further amend its credit agreement as it struggles through the financial impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Air Canada will also hold a call discussing its first quarter results, but on Friday. The airline revised its COVID-19 refund policy April 13th after concluding a deal with Ottawa in which it will receive a total of $5.9 billion in aid, including up to $1.4 billion to support new refunds for customers. An Edmonton company has lost its bid for an injunction banning the sale of set-top boxes that it says can be used to illegally access its Super Channel pay TV service. Alerco Entertainment had named 4 retailers and their customers in its application, including Staples Canada, Best Buy Canada, London Drugs, and Canada Computers. It requested the injunction to protect Super Channel from intellectual property theft. But the court said Alerco failed to provide any legal justification for preventing retailers from selling the boxes or proof that illegal use of them cost the company subscribers. Epic Games, the maker of the popular video game Fortnite, is taking Apple to court. The company is trying to prove that Apple turned its App Store into a weapon for shaking down smaller companies to boost its profits.
This is really the first shot across the bow toward Apple in terms of defending their moat and what they charge developers and apps, as Fortnite look to ultimately go off of App Store and basically do it themselves. And this is something, it's not just about Epic, it's about the industry. Everyone's watching this closely to see if Apple ultimately could defend its moat, or if there's any sort of judgment against it, which would have a massive ripple impact. Now, with that said, Apple is like, these are our terms. You violated our terms of service, and that should hold up ultimately in court. Now, so far, that really looks to be likely the way that this goes. And Epic, they're putting themselves out there. I mean, Fortnite Mobile being taken off the App Store, that was a major strategic risk.
Now, here's a look at today's markets. The TSX was up 104 points on the day to finish at 19,213. The Dow was up 238 points to 34,113. The S&P 500 was up 11 points to 4193, and the Nasdaq was down 67 points to 13,895. West Texas Intermediate Oil was up 91 cents to 64.49 US per barrel. Natural gas was up 3 cents to 2.96 US. Gold was up 2 cents to 17.92.90 US an ounce, and silver was even on the day at 26.91 US an ounce. Wheat is at $342 per metric ton, barley's at $350, canola's at $8.58, and corn is at $404 per metric ton. Live cattle were down $1.28 to $115.30, feeder cattle were down 55 cents to $133.05, and lean hogs were up 58 cents to $110.70. The Canadian dollar was up slightly over the past 24 hours to 81.45 US. Recapping one of our top stories this hour, Alberta Health says First Nations, Métis and Inuit people born in 1986 or earlier and anyone with health conditions born in 2009 or before can now receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Those eligible youth will need to come with a parent or guardian, and no doctor's note will be required. AHS says the Lethbridge Vaccination Clinic at Exhibition Park South Pavilion is open on May 4th for walk-ins from 9 till 3:30. And the one at the Pincher Creek Community Center will be open from 9 till 3:30 on May the 5th. Communication is vital in maintaining a healthy parent-child relationship, regardless of what age your son or daughter is. Now that's according to Pastor Gary Mason with Medicine Hat Family Church. He'll have more on the importance of communication and a Q&A with Jeanette Rocher in just a moment. The COVID-19 pandemic, with its restrictions, has certainly altered our normal routines and recreational pursuits. Now, one of the interesting fallouts has been an increase in people buying collectibles such as hockey cards, which is very popular when I was a kid. Joining me now to talk about it is Grant Gatto. He's the manager of Pirates Cove, a collectibles and memorabilia store located right here in Lethbridge. Grant, welcome to Bridge City News.
Thanks for having me.
Now, are you seeing the same thing here in Southern Alberta? Have you had more people come in looking for trading cards right now?
Oh, very much so. We got our store here and our store in Strathmore. We've noticed an increase in both places. I think a lot of people are stuck at home. They're either digging their old collections out of the closet or they're binging some old media that's spurring the urge on again.
You know, it's funny. I think I must have around 600 or 700 hockey cards. A lot of the old mid to late 70s O-Pee-Chees. Are they still pretty hot right now? A hot item, the O-Pee-Chees?
They are very much so. And the problem with a lot of that, though, is everybody's digging that out of their closet, and the Chinese factories that make all the supplies for it, they've been shut down. So there's a been a back order for almost every single supply industry wide for the last year too, because so many people are getting back into it.
You know, maybe I should bring some of my cards into you then. You can appraise them and maybe I can sell some of them to you too.
We'd love to see them for sure.
So outside of just being stuck at home and maybe reliving some great memories from the past as kids, why do you think people are collecting a lot of these cards right now and other memorabilia right now?
Well, there's a little bit of extra money rolling around with the benefits checks. We've noticed that the money definitely flows that way. And there's some people that are out of work and they're hoping for making a little side money on it too. If you've had something that's been in the closet for 10 years, you need some extra bucks. Yeah, it's time to part with it.
How about in the closet for 45 years? You know, it's funny. I have this collection.
Even better.
I have this collection of O-Pee-Chees that are rounded in the corners and they're autographed. Like it's, you know, like
Nice.
Daryl Sittler, Lanny McDonald, you know, Guy Lafleur, Larry Robinson, Rogie Van Shawn, you know, there's a set of 21. They were all autographed, not like original autographs, of course, but from the factory, right? I guess that might be worth a few bucks.
Oh, for sure. And there's a lot of people trying to finish those sets. So bring those in if you're interested in parting with them.
Now, I heard something recently I was reading a story about a Wayne Gretzky rookie hockey card that brought in over $1 million.
Yeah, that's when you get into the graded cards. When you with some collectibles, you have the option of getting them graded. So you can send it away to a professional. They'll review it, analyze it, appraise it, and put on a scale of 1 to 10 on, or depending on the industry, coins are a little different, on how good that is. That particular Gretzky was a perfect 10 out of 10, best one that's ever been graded or checked. So that one's a bit of an anomaly. Normally they go for about $1,500 to $2,000-ish, depending on shape.
So is Gretzky still a popular card, regardless if it's a rookie card or not?
Yeah, Gretzky, the last time I checked and I was pricing some stuff out, he has over 52,000 individual different hockey cards. So somebody could just collect Gretzky, go broke, and still not even be a tenth of the way there.
So what are some of the other big names that people are looking to collect outside of Gretzky? Maybe a Bobby Orr rookie card? How about Guy Lafleur, Daryl Sittler, some of those other names?
You can't go wrong with any of the Hall of Famers. There's always going to be a market for those guys. But there's so many new rookies every year. There's a new crop coming up, and that keeps the hobby going fresh.
Now, outside of hockey cards, how about maybe football or baseball or even basketball cards?
Running into the same supply issue problems with those. They're heavily collected. They're underproduced right now, and whatever's being made is getting picked up by scalpers and flipped on eBay. The stuff that we can find, it's just the crazy high-end stuff where $300 or $400 a pack, you get 2 cards in it. But it's really, really nice stuff to make up for it.
You know, it's funny, I'm just thinking back to a lot of these rare hockey cards I had, and I put them into the spokes of my bicycle when I was a kid, you know, and now here we are 40 years later, these things could probably pay off the mortgage to my house if I would have taken better care of them, right?
I am glad you did that, and I'm glad for all the mothers that threw away the collections, because I wouldn't be in business if everybody kept their stuff. It wouldn't be worth anything.
Now, Grant, you also have a great selection of Hot Wheels vehicles. You know, it's not just kids, but a lot of adults. I mean, I've been into your shop and I purchased a 65 Fastback Mustang Hot Wheel to add to my little collection as well. Are Hot Wheels still a hot item?
Oh, for sure. For sure. They're priced perfect for collectors. $2 a car. They're priced perfect for kids. And the way that they're marketed too, they've got the mainline ones, hundreds of different options a year. You could collect all those and not get into the higher end stuff. Now, Hot Wheels also have what they call treasure hunt cars. And when a store gets a case of 72 cars, only one in there is going to be marked as a treasure hunt car. And they usually have a little flame symbol on there to show you what you're after. And those are highly sought after. And there's even one step above super treasure hunts that the collectors go crazy for. They come with real rubber tires and fancier metal flake paint jobs.
Grant, would you say that maybe some of the muscle cars, like the American muscle cars, are a hot item? Some of the Mopars, the Chargers, you know, the Challengers, and then also the Mustangs and Camaros?
Definitely. In the Hot Wheels and in the bigger 1/18 scale cars too, the muscle cars in the bigger scale, you definitely can't keep in stock. And that's another one where they'll produce a batch, and then you don't get your 65 Mustang, you better hope that somebody saved it on their shelf and is willing to part with it.
I saw as well there was a Mustang, I think it was a VW bus with a surfboard on it that went for over, was it over $100,000 or something? One Hot Wheel?
Yeah, the original releases, they call them the Sweet 16 cars, and there's some crazy little variations where they might have ran out of paint at the factory, so we'll just finish up the day with this other paint and call it good. But 40, 50 years later, those cars from the end of the batch are rare as heck and very, very expensive.
Now, what about some of the other types of toy cars like dinky cars? Are they still quite popular, or is there more Hot Wheels?
There's so many different ones. Hot Wheels is good for the average collector, but the older collectors, they love getting into the dinky toys. Any of the older Matchbox, the Lesney toys. Yeah, there's always going to be a market for those, and the trick is finding them in good shape, because most of them spent the last 40 years buried in a garden someplace.
You know, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I've seen some people that have, you know, antique toys still in the box, never been touched by human hands, which are worth a fortune. But then at the same time, I'm thinking, what a sad childhood. You never had a chance to play with your toy, right?
Open it and play with it. Even when I sell something expensive here, a mint-in package transformer from the 1980s, I tell a person, open it, put the stickers on it, enjoy it. That's what it was meant for. You're the last buyer. That's what it's, you know, enjoy it.
So what are some of the older toys you have in your store there, Grant?
It's always changing. We rely on trades for a lot of stuff, so it's kind of whatever comes through the door. We've had a lot of old tin toys from the early 1900s come through here. I remember having a little toy wind-up boat with a propeller on the end of it. It was from about the 1940s, and every single time I picked that up, it drew blood. Every corner on it was razor sharp, and it was a children's toy from back in your grandpa's day. It's a miracle they made it to this age.
Wow. How about for the ladies and the young ladies too, like classic Barbies? I bet you they're fetching a good penny too, some of the dolls.
They are. We don't have many come through here though, unfortunately. I don't know if that stuff ends up in the antique shops or not. I wouldn't turn it away if it did come in, but yeah, few and far between, I hate to say. I think a lot of the Barbie collectors, they hold on to it forever. I don't blame them.
How about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? That was also pretty big when I was a kid. Is it popular now?
Not as much as it used to be, but anytime we get some of the old vintage toys, even the loose ones, out of package, missing all the accessories, I'll throw them in the dollar bin and they'll be gone the same day. People want them just to put on the shelf because they probably lost the accessories that quick when they were a kid anyway, so it looks just like they remembered.
How about some Star Wars memorabilia? Do you have much of that too?
Lots and lots of Star Wars stuff. It's been suffering the last couple of years since Disney took over. They really hurt the brand, unfortunately. It probably dropped about to 10% of what it was before. Hopefully the way the Mandalorian's been going is picking things back up and salvaging that. But thankfully Star Trek is on a second and third renaissance, and it's bringing in a lot of collectors too.
You know, I joke with a lot of my buddies too. I say there were only 3 Star Wars movies: Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. There was nothing else after that. They're like, oh, you've missed out on so many great movies, Hal, you know?
And lots of good books.
Oh yeah, now speaking of which, let's talk about comic books. What kind of old comic books are people really interested in?
The comic books, it's another one where unfortunately a lot of the industry is shifting towards digital. Like you buy a new comic now and almost all of them come with another digital copy that you can download and read on your phone. That way you can grab the original, bag it away and put it in the closet and never have to touch the thing. But I think that kind of goes against the spirit of comics. So we always sell our comics half price, even the old ones. We want to get the young collectors in there and keep them interested. And if you can trick a kid into reading with a comic book, not a bad thing either. So
I'm wondering if maybe some of the comic books went up in value with the release of some of these Marvel and DC movies.
They definitely did. I had an Iron Man #1 issue, and it booked in at $80, and it sat on my shelf for probably 4 years and didn't move. The movie came out, and just for giggles, I checked the price. It jumped to $1,000. Wow. I changed the price to $1,000. It sold within a week.
Wow, that is amazing. That's a pretty good profit. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, that's what I get for carrying it for 35 years.
Well, I guess if you spread it out over that period of time, you're right. Grant, how about old coins? Do you carry many of those?
Yeah, lots of old coins. We got to rely on trade because coins you can't really order from a supplier. You have to wait for Grandpa's coin collection to come in here, but we specialize in that. And with silver doing a bit of a run or two commodity wise, it's hard to keep in stock. So we're always looking for people to bring in their coin collections.
Instead of just old collectible coins, what about coins that have been discontinued? Let's say the German Deutschmark. I've got a whole bunch of those at home, and maybe some Italian lira that no longer exist. Are they worthless, or are they actually worth some money?
Kids love them because they're like pirate treasure. We've got a great big bin of 3 for $1 coins, and that's where all my weird foreign stuff goes. And kids will get a great big bag, and it's cheap as heck to get out of here. And they got a pretty good fancy collection. Because a lot of those coins, especially the foreign ones, are really neat.
What are some of the more unusual items that you carry that collectors may be interested in?
We've had some weird things come through here. I've had some coal brought up from the wreck of the Titanic, little Aztec statue, and a meteorite. I wanted to rub them together and see if I got superpowers, but the boss advised me against that one.
That's good. Now, do you have a lot of regulars who come in, usually, picking up items from you, maybe selling you items at the same time? Kind of like what we see with Pawn Stars, when people go in and they're always buying and selling from Rick and the guys? Not that you have a pawn shop, you've got a collector's shop, obviously, but,
We've got a nerdy version of that. I don't take offense to that, because, we got to get our stuff from somewhere, and it's people bringing them in.
So if a viewer has some old stuff, like we mentioned, sitting in the garage or maybe tucked away somewhere in an old desk, cards, coins, comics, magazines, they shouldn't throw them away. They should maybe give you a call, see if something you might be interested in purchasing.
Oh, for sure. You never know what has value. One person's trash is another person's collectible. So, bring it in, especially if it's something that's been sitting in there for, years. There's a fine line between collector and hoarder. So maybe somebody will appreciate better than you. Bring it in. We'll definitely give you better than a garage sale for it, and we'll find somebody who will appreciate it properly.
So how do you actually figure out the value on it? Let's go back to some of the hockey cards, because we're Canadian. We love hockey here in Canada. Let's say I bring in my Joe Sakic. I've got a rookie Joe Sakic. I've got a rookie Matt Sundin. I've got a rookie Ed Belfour. Do you actually look it up? Do you have a guide where you look up the pricing?
Oh, yeah. The good thing about cards is since 1990, there's been a magazine come out called The Beckett, and it's pretty much the Bible on anything close to cardboard. We just look up the price on there, what the price is on there, and then we go back and forth and find something comfy.
And to make sure that a card's in good shape, so the corners should not be bent at all, I guess, no creases in it.
Yeah, they want to be as crisp and perfect and fresh out of the pack as possible. But when you get to the older cards, that's just not possible. So you got to have a little bit of leeway for that. A lot of them were cut really, really crooked right from factory, because a lot of them were hand cut instead of machine cut. You might see the picture or part of the card next to it bleeding over onto it. You got to have some leeway for that. You're not going to get your $1 million Gretzky, but if you have a dog-eared Gretzky, you still got several $100s. So,
and I guess we shouldn't laminate it either, right? Because that may damage the card.
No, definitely not. That's a hard no. We've had so many good ones come through here, and it's just heartbreaking because they'll either take a hole punch and then pin it up to their bedroom walls, or laminate it, or tape it into a book, into a photo album, and it cooks the card, but maybe it'll fill somebody's set for a lot cheaper than buying a mint version would be.
Okay, before I let you go, I got to ask you one more thing. I'm a big fan of lava lamps. Are they still popular? Are they making a comeback? Please tell me they're making a comeback, lava lamps. Not the blue and the yellow ones. I'm talking about the red ones, right? They actually look like lava.
They never went away. My son has one for a night light that, we just bought them a couple weeks ago, and it's fantastic.
That is awesome. Glad to hear that. Thanks so much for joining us today and the trip down memory lane, Grant. I really appreciate it.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Well, being a parent is a challenge in the best of times, but with the middle of COVID restrictions, that challenge seems to get a lot harder. Joining us today to discuss this is Gary Mason, pastor of Medicine Hat Family Church. Welcome to Bridge City News, Pastor Gary.
Awesome. Great to be with you. Thanks.
Absolutely. So, are you hearing from parents in your community that COVID restrictions and kids having to stay home, not getting to socialize with friends, that it's causing more tensions in families?
Yeah, totally. I mean, when you think about it, I like to think a lot of times from a biblical perspective, being a pastor of a Christian church and everything. And so I think all the way back to Genesis, when God first created man, and he makes this statement, we always use it when it comes to marriage, but it really applies to everything, that it's not good for man to be alone. We were created for relationship. And when that gets limited, that causes problems. And our own mental health, let alone our children and what they're going through, the stress of all of that has created lots of issues for people, for sure.
Yeah, totally. Now, what advice do you have for parents to handle the conflicts that might be coming up with their children these days? Typically, we'll see raised voices, sarcasm, disrespect, etc. So what advice do you have?
Yeah, well, it comes back to relationship a lot of times. And are we building those relationships with our children? A lot of times, I suppose in the past, we all got so busy that things were going on. And sometimes even we had teachers and I like teachers, so not against all of that, but teachers, coaches, we left the raising of our children to them. And we didn't get involved in our own children's lives. And so I think that we have to make sure that we're maintaining relationship, we're maintaining conversations. I also think that we've lost the art of conversation in our society. We have cancel culture and all of that going on that people talk about and different things. But a lot of times we've lost the art of conversation, being able to listen with respect and speak with respect, right? And so within our homes, we should be creating an environment where we can have those conversations, and it can be a safe spot for our children to talk and everything, and keep those lines of communication with your children open, no matter what their ages. You got to keep that open. And especially as they get into their teenage and adolescent years, that's really important. So
I like that, open communication. And of course, when communication is open, of course, maybe things are going to come out that the truth comes out sometimes. So apologies can be key, right? And forgiveness. So is there a poor way and a better way to apologize?
Sure. There's always one of the things that I try to do with our we have 4 boys, and they're all from 16 to 22. And so as we've talked to them over the years, we try to get them to just accept responsibility in the apology. If you got to apologize and justify what you're saying, then the other person then takes it oftentimes as an attack on them again. And so what you want to do is just straight up take responsibility for your part of it. Even if you weren't to blame, maybe you weren't wrong in how it was done, but they felt wronged. They felt like, and so sometimes you have to apologize and just say, you know what, at least I'm sorry. I didn't mean for that to come across that way. I didn't mean for, and so just take responsibility. If you're always justifying, then how much responsibility are you really taking? And that's a big deal in the conversation.
Very good advice. Now, teens and young adults, screen time is always up in their lives. But of course, during COVID time, social media use has risen even more significantly, hasn't it? So what would you say to parents as to how to set boundaries when it comes to screen time or social media use?
Well, I think it's twofold in some of that. Number one is, are we checking the boundaries in our own life? And then are we talking about the boundaries with our kids, which goes back to relationship and conversation and talking to them, not just telling them here's the boundary, but telling them why the boundary's there. And there's lots of information online about the struggle that comes when there's too much screen time and what that does to us. And so to be able to stop and sit down and have that conversation, say, this is because I care about your own mental health and some of those things, and talking to them about, even as they grow and mature, and sleep patterns and overnight and all of those things, when flashes are coming on your phone and staying up all night, this doesn't help them with good development in their own process of whether it be mental health, physical health, all of that. And so to begin to talk about those boundaries, but to also display them in our own lives. Our house, at a certain time every night, the Wi-Fi goes off, and my Wi-Fi goes off as well as their Wi-Fi goes off, because the truth is that if that's true for their mental health, it's true for my mental health. And so we try to do those kind of things and have those conversations, apply the same things to our own lives and whatever. There's always exceptions, right?
Yeah.
One night you might stay up a little bit later and do some things, but
Right.
there's certain things that we can do. And that's a difficult, sometimes that's a difficult conversation, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but leading by example, it's very smart. It's hard to do though.
It is, because it's easy for us to get drawn in. I mean, social media is, we know now that a lot of it was designed actually to draw us in and to create almost an addiction within us, and all of that. And there's lots of studies for all of that, so you can find that. But if you understand that, then you understand that I need to keep it in a place where it's not controlling me. And so if I do that for me and I display that to my kids and I tell them about the importance of that for both of us, then that helps.
That's very, very smart. Now, I think it's a given that your kids are likely to disagree with your boundaries, right? I'm not talking just about your kids, Gary, everybody's kids. They don't like those boundaries sometimes, even though they need them. So any practical tips on how to communicate effectively with your kids, with kids in general, on issues like this?
Yeah, totally. I think that's a great question, because a lot of people, they have those struggles, but that's where being a parent comes in, and not just being a friend, not just being, and that's a longer conversation, I'm sure. But the reality is we still have to direct and help. At certain stages, when my children were 3, then it was, don't touch the stove, it's hot. And I'd pull them away, and there was no question, there was no conversation. But as they grow, you have to begin to treat them differently. You have to begin to tell them why you're making these decisions. You have to begin to tell them not only why they're making the decision, but then give them an opportunity to make the decision and correct it if they're wrong, so that when the time comes and you're not around, they know how to make the right decisions, right? And so it's a process that goes. Now, if you haven't done that ahead of time, or you don't have that kind of a relationship with your children, I think you need to step back and begin to build that relationship. And always, there's a book that was written years ago. I think it was John Trent, I'm not sure. But he wrote a book called The 2% Difference. And it talks about, rather than making big, wide changes, let's just make a 2% change today until we have that, and then make a 2% change in a week or 2 or a month or whatever. And as you slowly move the needle over, you're going to change things over time, rather than doing something that's just, it's too hard on everybody.
Now, Gary, I might be old-fashioned, but is it still key for kids to play sports or out at the park, or maybe some board games, even if it's just with their siblings or a small group of friends outdoors?
Yeah, well, I don't think it's old-fashioned myself. I think it probably depends. I suppose if you all decided to go out and churn butter, that would be old-fashioned. But that's not what we're talking about. And so playing a board game or playing a video, sometimes, like every family day at our family, we play one on a Nintendo, I think it is. We played a Mario and whatever Olympics as a family, right? And then we do other things that day as well. But so we have this tradition that we've done on that day. And there are other days we might do something else. And sometimes we go for motorcycle rides. We all ride and stuff. And so I think
your
that
kids
it's
are
not
older, so they could do that.
right.
Yeah.
But we played video games when they were younger. Now we do motorcycle rides now. But even when they were younger, they would sit on the back, right? So you have different things that you can do along the way. It's only old-fashioned if what you're doing is old-fashioned. The fact of spending time together will never be old-fashioned. That's important for all of us, especially within the home, and especially right now when sometimes you're limited to your home. But getting out to the park as well with friends and having some time with them. Outside, I think the limit right now is 10 people in a group. And so to be able to do that, that's really important as well, because they need that interaction. And you know what? I don't run with them like their friends run with them anymore. When they play football, I might play football with them, but I'm the guy that jogs now. I'm 51, so I'm the guy that jogs now. And so they need those guys around them too, and they need those relationships too. So
That's awesome. So a big part of parenting is the process of passing your faith on to your children, if you are a person of faith, of course. So how can we do this effectively?
I think at that point you've got to talk about living it out in front of them. I think you've got to allow what you believe to be seen in them and discuss it with them. Again, if I want to transfer something to them, I got to talk about it. I've got to then live it out and be real in front of them. If I'm struggling, as they get older, I even talk to them about my struggles and things, and as well as all the victories and all of that along the way. And so just allowing yourself to be real, allowing yourself to have that relationship and growing it with them. So
That's awesome. Now, with that said, how important is it for families to be part of a local church in order to thrive spiritually?
yeah, well, I'm a pastor, so I believe in the power of the local church, right? But I think community is really huge, and when you have a community that is working towards the same goal, like growing as Christians and reaching out and evangelizing, having what would you call it, compassion ministries within your community, feeding the hungry or clothing those who are poor, doing all those things, is reaching out in different parts of the world. Whatever it is that we're doing within the church and within those things, being together, doing that together with other people is really important. Actually, we've homeschooled our boys for a number of years, and one of the things that's really interesting in some of my studies of that was that the only time they spend all their time with people of their age is in school. As soon as you graduate school, you go to college, you get a career, you're in a job, you're with people of all different age groups. And so one of the things that you find is that if all they ever do is spend time with their age group, they actually lack certain identity strengths. They will have at times even identity crisis that they go through because they don't know who they are. Whereas when you get them into a larger group, a larger community with adults and everything, and those adults then endorse them and speak into their lives and have those conversations as well, adult endorsement for those young people brings more strength to their identity than their peers does.
That's amazing. And it's one of those things that you might not think about because, they tend to hang out with people of their own age group. But that is really
and
good advice.
And when you talk about family time and you talk about sharing your faith, what better way than to do that within the context of whether it be worship or listening to the word that's being preached or prayer and all of those things. Those are really intimate times. I think I don't think enough believers recognize the value of the local church. As a matter of fact, my 16-year-old, I shared a couple of the questions that we were going to go over today with a couple of my boys today. And my 16-year-old said, to this question, he said, I don't think people realize the importance of that. And he's 16.
Wow. Spoken from the teen right there. Wisdom. We can learn from them, can't we?
Oh man, I learn from them so much all the time. And today's world is different than our world. We can't look at it and say, well, why aren't you like me? Or why,
Yeah.
Man, it's just a totally different world, like it was for us with our parents.
Yeah, totally. So what do you say to parents who maybe feel that they've messed up already? It might be just too late for their kids at this point. Is it ever too late?
I don't think it's ever too late. I think that there's always opportunity. I'll admit that if you don't do it when they're young, or you did it really when they were young and treated them like they were 3 all the way till they were 23, then you have problems and there's things to overcome. But I think, again, you work on that 2-degree difference. You begin to make small changes in your relationship. You begin to reach out in ways until you build that relationship. Sometimes we see parents who want to really bring in a lot of controls and boundaries and do all that, but they don't have the relationship. You know, typically when somebody's telling somebody what to do and there's no relationship, a lot of times we could call that abuse even. And so certainly to a young person, that can feel like that. So make sure you build the relationship. Just take time wherever you're at to begin to build that relationship.
What fantastic advice. Thanks so much for being with us today, Gary, and for passing on your wisdom and knowledge.
Well, it's been my pleasure. I'll tell anybody that I can, anything I can help them with. So praise the Lord.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Gary Mason is the pastor of Medicine Hat Family Church. I'm Jeanette Roche on behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News. Thanks for watching.